Thanks for coming this afternoon. I hope you all had a great lunch. My name is Jessy Servi Ortiz. I'm the Managing Director of the Wisconsin Sustainable Business Council. We are owned and operated by WMEP Manufacturing Solutions, so we primarily work to help small and medium-sized manufacturers, but on the WSBC side, we're a membership organization and we support our member businesses on all things sustainability. So we primarily help them through education, through measuring and improving their sustainability impacts, as well as facilitating connection. So I'm here to talk a little bit today about this concept of sustainability and how it can interface with supply chain. But before I do that, I like to kind of level set on what do I mean when I say sustainability, because that means a lot of different things to a lot of people often. So the way that we define sustainability as an organization is the pursuit of business growth strategy that creates long-term stakeholder value by seizing opportunities and managing risks. So y'all in supply chain know a lot about seizing opportunities and managing risks from the last several years. So this is really related to the company's environmental and social impacts. Now there's this other sneaky term called ESG, or environmental, social, and governance, that often sometimes confuses the waters. So I also have been defining this, and really this is more of a risk-based approach to evaluating the company's performance in these factors of environmental, social, and governance over time. And it's really a tool for the investment community to measure the sustainability of a company. So how many companies here are publicly traded? A fair amount. Okay, so you're probably fairly familiar with this term. I'd say that's at least half of you. All right, so why sustainability? Why would we care about sustainability? Well, I was in this section this morning, risk. We all know what happened with COVID. If we're not prepared for that. With most of us, we're not prepared for that. Well, the World Economic Forum publishes a report every year on the global risks. If you haven't read that or you don't read it, I would highly recommend it. It's a really interesting report. They publish it every year, and in 2023, 9 out of the top 10 risks related directly to a company's sustainability. And supply chain vulnerability is an aspect of that, where we need to increase agility and enhance resilience. So also, regulation is a driver of sustainability right now. Whether or not you're public or private, this looks a little different, right? And depending on who your customers are, this might look a little different. But if you supply to Europe, how many of you supply to Europe? Okay, handful of you, then you're probably aware of the European Union's rules and regulations. They passed a Green Deal last year, so by 2025, companies that are importing products manufactured outside of Europe will have to disclose the greenhouse gas associated with that product. So this is a large driver of sustainability these days. Germany also passed a rule. And then here in the States, we have the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, that they're supposed to rule on later this year on greenhouse gas. Again, if a publicly traded company having to disclose greenhouse gas as an organization, as well as in your supply base. So together, regulations and risk is putting new pressures on supply chain and new requirements for you all to have to think about and manage. The reality of it is that customers are driving this a lot. If you're in the consumer products industry, customers want more green products. The OEMs or the publicly traded companies need it because they're disclosing upon it, and therefore it's trickling on down this supply chain. How many of you are answering sustainability questionnaires from customers? Okay, that's a fair amount. And is it typically EcoVadis or? Yeah, okay. So how many of you have not gotten a request yet from a customer? Okay. And gotten a request, but you're like, what in the heck do I do with this? Yep, that's what we hear most frequently. And so, it's up to you and your company decide what to do to that, but really I'm here to talk to you about a solution that we've created to help you with that. So before I talk about that, the benefits to sustainability are endless. In my opinion, I really believe that this is sort of like a newer movement like quality was several years ago. I was in this session this morning where they talked about like how challenging it can be to work across silos. Sustainability is one of those things that brings everything together under one umbrella in an organization if you're doing it right, and helps you integrate your systems across the organization. So here's an extensive list of benefits that companies often see, cost reduction, reducing risks, innovation, supply chain engagement. There's a great list of resiliency, flexibility, reliability. Trek this morning talked about building relationships with your suppliers. In the sustainability space, that really matters, because if you're looking at different tools, technologies, materials, you have to work with those suppliers in order to co-create something that's going to work for both parties. It also can enhance your brand. It's a competitive advantage these days. Most stakeholders are looking for this. Many businesses are facing challenges with workforce. I'm sure you've heard that the younger generation really wants to work for companies that have a purpose, that they feel like they can give and contribute on a daily basis to their work. So it does help with recruitment, retention, engagement in the workplace. All right, so what's some of the challenges or maybe barriers to engaging around supply chain? So time, resources, you all have a lot of priorities on your plate. Okay, what is something else I have to do now? What is the sustainability thing? There's a lot of frameworks out there. There's a lot of tools that don't always necessarily help you understand what to do better. They're not necessarily an incentive per se. Competing priorities, I talked about, let's see, surveys, many of you mentioned those surveys. And maybe it's just not in your wheelhouse. You don't know what to do, and you don't fully understand what the benefits can be. So those are some of the challenges. Some of the benefits that we see on the other side of this is improving supplier resilience and reliability, reducing risks, optimizing costs, and synergy in achieving mutual goals. So that's on a buyer side. On the supplier side, again, some of those benefits from that benefit side, reducing operational costs, improving workforce retention and engagement, leveraging sustainable actions to increase market share. I am in a unique position where I get to talk to a lot of businesses about what they're doing in sustainability, and a lot of them are on the larger level talking through how they're engaging suppliers in sustainability. And I do hear quite frequently that businesses are being overlooked because they don't have a sustainability presence. And nobody's necessarily communicating that to those companies. They're just not even considering them as a supplier. So again, improved customer relationships. I would say that that's a large driver right now on the supply chain side. All right, so there are some third-party tools for engagement. Is anybody using any of these tools? Someone said EcoVadis earlier. Which one are you using? EcoVadis, okay. Any others up here that you might be using? Okay, well, these are all great tools to engage on the supply chain for sustainability. But I'm here to talk about our solution, which is called the Green Masters program. So this program has been around for 16 years. We have retooled it and relaunched it this year. And it's really a third-party resource to help you and or suppliers define what sustainability means for your organization and prioritize the topics that matter most to your organization. I'll use the term materiality. That's what I mean when it means the measure. What matters most is it's most material to your organization. So it is a virtual platform that's purpose-built for manufacturers. It is customizable. So what that means is that it's also scalable. So I'll talk for a minute on how that works, but What's unique about it is an EcoVadis is an all or nothing approach. You get an EcoVadis questionnaire and you have to answer every question. Okay, that's daunting and time consuming. What we've looked at is allowing you to scope how sustainability, or what the priorities for sustainability should be for your organization within this tool. And then you can start with where you're at and grow from there. So not only that, I mentioned we're a member organization, so you get a support system and network in addition to the tool. So for example, we run a Green Masters program working group every year. Our program manager runs that. So we give you resources and tools and access to other folks working on this to sort of chat through the best ways to do things. So this is just a snapshot of the dimensions that are in the tool. So it's environment, society, workforce, and governance and leadership. These are the categories, we call them dimensions, and then the topics within that. So there's 15 categories. So yes, sustainability is a big topic, but you get to select the ones that are most important for your business. And just because a customer is asking about a certain topic doesn't necessarily mean that you have to answer or that you have to make it a priority for your business. That's one of the downsides, I would say, to the sustainability movement, right? Is there are a lot of topics, but this tool really helps you hone in on what's most important. So we use this concept called materiality. You can't address every risk or pursue every opportunity. So material issue, again, is one that affects the credibility, the operational financial integrity of your organization. And so it's a systematic way to focus on what's most important. And inside the tool, this informs your business priorities. So any companies here done a materiality assessment? Just one, okay. So essentially this is really just, do I have a picture of it? Sorry. I will note to add that in next time. Essentially what the worksheet does in our tool is it allows you to sit down with your teams, your business leaders, and say, okay, what is most important to our business? Is it energy? Yes, as a manufacturer, energy is usually an area that you're consuming a lot of energy. So that is a material issue, right? If there's a fire, if there's any kind of natural disaster and the power goes out, that's gonna substantially affect your business. That's an example of what something that would be a material issue to your company. So it allows you to go through this process together as a team to determine what are those priorities for your business. And then also it has a spot that allows you to talk about what is important to your stakeholders. So what are those customers, those suppliers, those end users saying? Maybe your investors, maybe your owners. What's important to those folks? So through that whole process, it allows you to set your business priorities. And again, this is following like a plan, do, check, act cycle. And so the goal with sustainability is continuous improvement across the categories that matter to your business. So the tool helps provide a roadmap to help you get there. So you assess your material topics, you get to set your business priorities, then you plan and embed systems, you set metrics and goals, you execute on those, you evaluate and adjust, and it's a continuous process. All right, so the systems development component is a really important piece of the program. And so the way that the program is scored is on systems development, integration, best practices, and performance improvement. So I'm going to go back to this slide and talk for a minute about that plan and embed phase. And really this is just a kind of best practices idea to talk about where are you at today. So no matter where you're at in your sustainability journey, and this can be applied across your business, right? But say you have said that energy is a priority. We know that we have data available. It's quality data. We want to manage this. So look at what your current systems are and what your current initiatives are. So then look at where do you want to go? So what are the customers? What are the OEMs? What are they saying? And then also looking at industry data and trends. Where do we want to go as a company? Maybe it's reducing scrap. Maybe it's increasing efficiency by a certain percent. So define that, set measures, and commit to that. And then you can develop sort of what is that gap and how can we get there? And that's where you develop your KPIs. Think both long-term and short-term in this process, and then what resources are needed to get there. So you might need to do an energy audit in this example. You might want to look at energy monitoring. You might want to look at just inflows and outflows of people inside your processes that relate to the energy. So when you kind of dive into each of these on a deeper level, you can see how it's really just taking your systems and evaluating those systems and looking at how you can be more efficient. I mentioned that. So the Green Masters program, again, it's a tool. It's available to our members at no cost. It really does help you measure and improve your sustainability outcomes that you choose are priorities for your organization. It is considered a certification, so it's a third-party credential that validates your sustainability. You get to use the Green Masters program logo in whatever way makes sense for your company. And then we also offer a recognition program, so you can get recognized, showing those customers, those stakeholders that you're actively pursuing sustainability in the material topics that matter to your organization, and you get to promote that story. So how am I doing on time? 2:05. Okay, so I do want to invite you all. We have an annual conference just like this. We're in Madison this year at True Stage. We do move around the state. I invite you all to our conference. We will have a supply chain session, and I think we have 6 tracks this year. So lots of information on sustainability to get engaged and learn more. And this is my contact information. My email is just jessy@wisconsinsustainability.com. And Krista is our program manager. You can reach out to any of us with any questions at any point in time. I will just add that, with our relationship with WMEP, WSBC is really a program arm. And then we do offer consulting on the WMEP side. I will also add that we are testing this product out with supply chains right now. So we're using it, we have a couple large OEMs that are using it. Essentially we're running what we're calling a pilot, where we're taking groups of suppliers through the tool, but also through sort of like a learning process of understanding what each of those 15 categories are. So with that, there's some coaching. There's the opportunity for us to help coach those suppliers on priority setting, on systems development, on things like normalizing data, things that are important part of KPI tracking for sustainability. So you can use the tool, you can use it as an engagement tool for suppliers. And yeah, again, it's really just about improving your overall business outcomes in relationship to sustainability. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
Is it scope 1, 2, and 3 that you cover, or
Yep. So in the greenhouse gas section, it's all in the greenhouse gas. So if you select greenhouse gas as a material topic, then yes, you're going to be scored on scope 1, 2, and 3. But again, in those best practices, it's the way it fleshes out as we ask you which category in scope 3 you're addressing. We do have plans for further development of the tool. Right now, it's really just meant for businesses to sort of help develop their systems for communication, tracking, working together as a team around sustainability. But we are going to be adding in the ability to be able to track those metrics. So that's optional. If you want to say, put in your greenhouse gas data, you could. Any other questions? Yeah.
As it relates to the Green Masters program as a tool, it seems like there's actually a lot of tools out there. You put a few.
Yeah.
Like one of the things we're struggling with is it seems like every different company has a different tool testing 5 different tools, 5 from 5 different customers.
That is our goal. I will say we're not trying to compete with the EcoVadis of the world. We're trying to really allow for small to medium-sized companies a way to get started and improve their sustainability and scale it and scope it to what makes sense to their organization. There's really not another tool on the market that does that. And so it's really our goal that it helps you to do that, and then you can graduate to CDP reporting. You know, it makes your EcoVadis reporting much more streamlined. It's really meant to, we have a lot of larger companies too, but I would say really the tool is most useful for the small to medium-sized companies that are like, how do we scope this, right? How do we integrate it across our business systems? And so far users are validating that. So, but yes, it is a little bit Wild West right now out there in terms of there's so many different tools and products. Part of the benefit of our tool is just, again, that support system you get with other businesses. There's no other, EcoVadis might tell you what you should be doing better, but there's no real support system woven in that. Yeah, great question. Thanks. I think I'm about out of time. Any last questions? All right. Thank you so much.